上西上下上谁安尼住？
上西上下上谁安尼住？加安给加扎个安娜加安给加扎个安娜，给tu pueden quedar chunicha。Nage pueden quedar jaina上西上下上谁安尼住？上西上下上谁安尼住？加安给加扎个安娜加安给加扎个安娜，给tu pueden quedar chunicha。Nage pueden quedar jaina上西上下上谁安尼住？上西上下上谁安尼住？加安给加扎个安娜加安给加扎个安娜，给tu pueden quedar chunicha。Nage pueden quedar jaina。
Aye 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 aye
Aye aye aye om aye 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 om
A por tua e o tua marine amo amo temo.
Ete Mario Caribe Shibilo etua. A por tua e o tua marine amo amo temo. Ete Mario Caribe Shibilo etua. Aye 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 om aye 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 om.
A por tua e o tua marine amo amo temo.
Ete Mario Caribe Shibilo etua. A por tua e o tua marine amo amo temo. Ete Mario Caribe Shibilo ete Mario Caribe Shibilo Shibilo etua. Aye 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 om aye 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 om
Good morning. My name is Marianne Schultz. I am your worship associate this morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts, and to this very special land acknowledgement service which we are celebrating here in person and online. We are living in challenging times. Forces press upon us that suggest we best live in fear, separation, and blame. Instead, we choose to come together as a church community committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, and transform our world. If you are visiting today or joining us for the first time, we are especially glad that you're with us this morning. If you are joining us online, there are links you can click to see today's order of service. If you joined from YouTube, the links are just below the live stream. Please click on the word "More" to see them. If you're watching from our website, there are buttons below the live stream. Every Sunday, we say that it is no small thing that we have gathered. This morning, it is a particularly big thing that we have gathered. So let us give ourselves to it. I welcome one and all to our church and our worship service. Thank you. It is good to be together.
Here, if any of my young friends want to come up with me, that's cool. I want to thank you. I'm very honored to call in the directions, and I think this is a really wonderful. What? Okay. I want to any of my young friends that want to come up and stand with me. That's fine. the other thing is, I'm very honored to do the direction songs for you, and hope that this is yet another step in moving forward for Native peoples and for all people. All right, so the idea of this song is that we all stand up, if you can, and we face the west, because in the Lakota, that's where all life comes from, the lightning people. And we'll go around from the west to the north, where there's strength and where the buffalo stand in the freezing winds together. And then, okay, sorry. Okay, so we got the west, lightning people bring in faith, life, not faith. And then we turn to the north. We turn to the north, and that's where the Buffalo Nation and strength comes from. When the winter comes, they stand all around the young ones, the bulls do. And then we turn to the east, where the spotted eagle and the Onuchi Unkasan, the white bald eagle for the women, are, and that takes up the prayers that are in our heart. And then we turn to the Itogagachake, the south, where all the little life is and where life begins again. And then we turn again to the west and we look up at the sky, the blue globe that's over us, that's protecting us all. That's a blanket, the Wankantanka, over everything. And we send our prayers to that. And in Lakota, a prayer is what's in your soul. It's not like I need something, but it is I need something. It's also something about honoring all these directions. And then at the end, I don't know if you want to do this, but we put our hand in the ground and we send a prayer to Nuchi Unkasan, the grandmother. Okay, so. Welk beatakea he tuaio ne ton kashela echie yankelo elo chekia yoi ha he tuai he yankelo elo. Turn to the north. Wazaya takia he tuaio ne ton chashela echie yankelo elo chekia yoi ha he tuai he yankelo elo. Turn to the west. William patakea he tuaio ne ton chashela echie yankelo elo chekia yoi ha he tuai he yankelo elo. Turn to the south. Itogo gachakea he tuaio ne ton chashela echie yankelo elo chekia yoi ha he tuai he yankelo elo. I turn to the west again, but look up at the sky. Wanchatakea he tuaio ne ton chashela echie yankelo elo chekia yoi ha he tuai he yankelo elo. And then we look towards the earth. Makata mea he tuaio ne koshe kon echie yankelo elo chekia yoi anagapta yankelo elo. Opila che chule yelo. Thank you very much.
What an honor. It is so good to be together. Louder. Is that better? That's all we've got. Can you hear me now? Okay. I said, what an honor. Thank you, Mike. And how good it is to be together. We offer this service in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day. We honor that we are sitting and standing on land traditionally occupied by the Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki Nation. Pennacook, also called Merrimack, means bottom of the hill. We acknowledge that they have been robbed of the land that they loved and stewarded. And we say that the spirit and therefore the heart of this land is their land. The Kawasuk Band of the Pennacook Abenaki Nation. Please join me now in saying the chalice lighting words while Marianne lights our chalice. The words are printed in your order of service. And if you do have a chalice or a candle at home, I invite you to light it now. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you, Ray. Each week we also light 2 candles of peace representing 2 places on earth that we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. This morning, the candles will be lit in our mind and our hearts. There are untold number of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit in our mind and heart, we'll speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle this morning is lit for Michigan, where acts of planned violence were intercepted. We pray for enlightenment and honest acceptance that peace is the answer. Peace, salam, shalom. And our second candle is lit for Louisiana and the lands where Hurricane Delta has struck. We pray for the safety and well-being in all ways to all who live in those areas. Peace, salam, shalom. This morning we also light a candle in our heart in honor, remembrance, and hope for the COVID-19 pandemic, for all those who are struggling for economic security, fighting for their health, and all those who have lost their lives. We will continue to light this candle each time we worship for as long as we live into this worldwide reality. Please join together now in our affirmation of faith. Again, the words are printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. This is the time in our service each week where we pause and remember the joys and sorrows among us. We're not able this morning to read from the chat or, unfortunately, except from those of us who have gathered in person. I have a couple to share that were sent in advance, and then we'll go through something that we do within our own minds and hearts as we're. So let us hold Steve and Julie, Liam and Lily Amory in our thoughts and prayers this morning. Steve's Aunt Betty passed away last Tuesday after a 10-year fight with breast cancer. Steve shares that she was always a fighter, and she did fight long and hard until the end. So although there is sadness, there is also the thought that she is no longer suffering and will be remembered for the great spirit she was. We have a joy this morning as Jay McCarthy invites us to wish his beloved wife, Nancy, a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Nancy! I think one of the most spiritually demanding things that we are called to do these days is find a way to hold it all. To not go away from the realities of the world and live in a bubble. And yet to not become cynical, broken, closed-hearted. To hold the suffering and the joys. This is no small task. I'm refraining from saying your names. I'm seeing you and I'm like, hi, Aster. It's so good to see you. I'm going to behave myself. So let's join together now in calling forth the joys and the sorrows on our hearts and in our own lives. Building from the strength that comes from our shared community and being together. At this time, we remember all of those who are physically sick or suffering, those living with diagnoses yet unclear, those living with the incurable diagnoses, those of us who are tired, who want to know how much longer, how much more will we be called to accept and endure. We lift up in honor of mental health awareness, the fact that our mental health is as real and as important as our spiritual and physical well-being. We remember those with us and among us who struggle every day. May any blame they hold against themselves or shame be removed. May we be people who can see in each other's eyes the common humanity and the truth that all of us are broken and need one another. We remember our Indigenous brothers and sisters, families, neighbors, and friends. May they know they are not invisible. May their brokenness through generations find a way to be strengthened and healed. May we be the ones who are brave enough to say and admit when we are wrong. So too do we lift up all of the joys, the gratitude for this beautiful day, for our beloved church community, those online, those here in person, and those who are not with us, near and far. The celebrations of our life, the fall, autumn weather and leaves, the beautiful area we live in, so much that we have to be grateful for. May we be brave enough to feel that gratitude and to say thank you again and again. In our prayer this morning are the words of Black Elk entitled "The Sacred Hoop." Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and round beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all things of the Spirit, and the shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as daylight and starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And I saw that it was holy. May it be so.
You may have noticed the wooden houses set up as you entered our space today. They are part of an exciting church-wide community art project for all ages called It Takes a Village. This is one way we are seeking to express our connections to one another and to the important concept of home. Perhaps home is not a place, but simply an irrevocable condition, said James Baldwin. Home is where the heart is, a familiar saying. Home is many things, all of which include connection. Home is so much more than a place. It is a state of being and the people with whom we connect. Home is our village. This community art project offers all of us a chance to reflect upon what home means to us and to use our creative expression to show others how we feel. Here is how it will work. You will pick up a small wooden house shape to take home and finish. You can paint or color your house, covered in paper, photos, or fabric, write on it, glue or attach objects to it. There are no limits. Each person in your family may make their own house, or you can design one as a family. We have plenty of them. Your finished houses will be part of a village. Art installation outside the church on Saturday, October 24th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., weather permitting. In the event of inclement weather, the installation will be photographed and only shared virtually. You can pick up your wooden house today or at 7 Pheasant Run Drive in Newburyport, anytime via contactless pickup from the open garage. Please drop off your finished house before Saturday, October 24th at 7 Pheasant Run Lane or Drive, Newburyport. We ask that you write your name on the bottom of your house so it can be returned to you after the village installation. All of this information is in your orders of service, and there is also a video you can watch on our website and on YouTube. Thank you to Bettina Turner for this special idea and for coordinating the entire project. Above all, thank you for inviting us to remember and express what home means to us. I'll close with words from Maya Angelou. The ache for home lives in all of us, the safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned. Thank you.
Great Spirit, this is my prayer. Teach
Teach me to listen, teach me to understand. We are living upon this land. This land is not ours, it is sacred land. Great Spirit, teach me humility. Teach me to value all lives equally. There are other truths and points of view we need to hear and listen to. Great Spirit, this is my prayer. Teach me to listen, teach me to understand. Teach me to listen, teach me to understand.
Thank you, Kristen. I just invite us all to take a deep breath. We are indeed so blessed. It is so good to see all of you and all of you. This day is Indigenous Peoples Day is a particularly important day to me personally, and I thank everyone who's helped bring this service together and offer your many gifts and experiences. And may these words come from my heart. So I met Stephen Pavar in 2001 when I began working as the Director of Development or Fundraising for the Connecticut American Civil Liberties Union. It was the time of the Patriot Act, some of you may remember. The enormity of 9/11 was reverberating in the air. People were trying to make sense both of its happening and of the pervasive reaction of fear and fighting back and ostracizing our Muslim brothers and sisters. Quite a time to begin raising money, protecting civil liberties. If I were to say it was overwhelming, I would be belittling a little bit of what it actually felt like. It was heartbreaking. So Stephen's office was directly beneath mine. In remembering this whole time in my life, I do want to say one thing because it brought me hope. So this was in Hartford, Connecticut, and our offices, it felt like we lived there, was a house. It was an old house, and nothing very special, that's for sure, rather run down. And we had put our offices into these rooms. In addition to the ACLU, there was an organization. sorry. There was an organization called Love Makes a Family. That organization was created to work for making same-sex marriage legal in Connecticut. We were conspirators all together, those of us there those days. And the reason that it just chokes me up is because I can forget, personally, I can forget that good things actually are happening and have happened. That organization no longer exists because it met its mission. So Stephen's office was directly beneath mine in this old house with sagging floors and peeling paint. Stephen had and has a kind face, a warm smile and a twinkle in his eye. He is smart, humble, and an incredible listener. He just somehow made the mayhem of the day a bit more palpable. I would come in the morning distraught and overwhelmed from whatever had happened the evening before, and he would say, "Can I get you a cup of coffee?" And we would talk. I would talk, and he would listen. Stephen is a lead attorney and has been for 37 years at the National ACLU, with his expertise and focus in prisoner rights, but also and predominantly in Indian and tribal rights. He began his career working as an attorney on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation and has litigated hundreds of federal cases, many of which are for the rights of American Indians. We became very dear friends and colleagues. We shared a love of Native Americans, swimming, and our respective families. So it makes sense to me now that Stephen is such a good listener, and that he has a quality about him that is hard to put words to. Gentle anger is the closest I can come, to use Holly Near's phrase. In his book, The Rights of Indians and Tribes, Stephen reminds us, quote, that millions of people and hundreds of independent nations were prospering in what is now the United States when the Europeans first arrived in North America. Yet, at the time of our last U.S. Census in 2010, Indian and Alaska Natives comprised only 1.7% of the United States population. There are today 565 federally recognized Indian tribes and 315 Indian reservations. Indians are the most disadvantaged group in our society. With 80% unemployment rates on most reservations and nearly 25% of all American Indians living in poverty. There is much that needs to be said about what happened to the indigenous people on these lands. It's history that needs to be told with reparations made. This morning, I'll be focusing on the topic of land and indigenous people's relationship to the land historically and today. And I invite all of us to listen, yes, with our heads, but even more so with our hearts and our bodies. Indigenous people never owned the land. It simply wasn't in their understanding. They certainly didn't do it as individuals. Instead, land was occupied, cared for, in relationship, harvested communally. In his book, Neither Wolf Nor Dog, Kent Nurburn writes this about the land. He said, "The land was part of us. We didn't even know about owning the land. It's like talking about owning your grandmother. You can't own your grandmother. your grandmother? Why would you talk about owning her? It was the land where we hunted, or where our ancestors were buried. It was the land that the Creator had given us. In contrast, Anglo-American values teach us to covet, prioritize, and flaunt ownership of land, among many other things. The Doctrine of Discovery, based on the 1493 Papal Bull, asserted that discovery trumps occupancy. It told Europeans that it was their God-given right and responsibility to conquer. Colonization and conquest of land by Europeans from indigenous people in the 1600s, based on this doctrine of discovery, was upheld by the United States Supreme Court in 1832. So whereas indigenous people occupied all the land when Europeans arrived, today tribes occupy 2% of that same land. There are 100,000 American Indians that live in Massachusetts. Did you know that indigenous people were not legally allowed to practice their religion in our wrong for us to make blanket assumptions, rewrite history, or appropriate their beliefs and customs? There's very important and good work being done related to the rights of Native Americans. 13 states have legally changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Just 5 days ago, Pentucket Regional School Committee voted to no longer use their mascot that was based on a Native American image. There's a Massachusetts Indigenous legislative agenda that made it to the House of Representatives this year. This agenda includes proposed state laws that would change the state flag and seal, which I understand Governor Baker is open to, prohibit Native mascots, replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day, improve Indigenous educational outcomes, and protect Native American heritage. I ask us all to learn more, and I hope our congregation will sign on to support this legislation. When we do a land acknowledgement ceremony, by the way, we're asked by Indigenous people not to make it somber, however, to commit to action. So all of this matters, the history and the contemporary things that are being done. And yet, what makes it real are people and their stories. So I'm going to share 2 quick stories with you. When I was doing my internship, my ministerial internship at our congregation in New London, Connecticut, I invited Stephen Pivar to come and speak. That is the land of the Narragansett people, very close to Rhode Island. And they were fighting difficult court cases about their tribal rights and recognition at the time. Stephen reached out to tribal leaders, and word got out to Indians near and far. Nearly 100 Native Americans came to our church one Thursday night to listen to Stephen speak and answer their questions. The sincerity with which they listened was made all the more poignant by the pain in their faces. One after another, they waited to tell him their stories and ask his advice. I was honored to bear witness and offer space for such exchanges. 2 years later, and 2 years ago, or a little more, I was serving our Brookline congregation when the church partnered with other allies to petition the town of Brookline to change the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, you need to understand why this was of particular importance, certainly to me. The widow of tribal chairman Russell Fast Turtles Peters of the Wampanoag tribe was a member of my congregation. Like Stephen, she's a soft-spoken, intelligent lawyer, committed person. She carries herself with a gentle anger. She told me of her sorrow that she wasn't comfortable inviting her children and grandchildren to come to our congregation. She knew they wouldn't feel welcome and that we didn't even know why. She talked to me about actions needing to follow words and awakening that needed to happen. And we cried together. I was sad with her as she told me of her children and grandchildren. And then I got to sit next to one of those young adult children the night that we all gathered in town hall to vote on this change to Indigenous Peoples Day. I felt in my body this young woman's skepticism and anger. There were maybe 8 or 10 Indigenous people there, and I don't know, 200, I would say, others, including those who were speaking against it. And I looked at her body that was only perhaps this far away from me, slumped in the auditorium seat, you know the kind in auditoriums, school auditoriums, slumped into it. And her body said, I'll believe it when I see it. But then she sat a little taller, and a smile slowly came across her face as she watched the vote pass. And the town changed the holiday officially to Indigenous Peoples Day. I got to feel this young woman's experience of that. For any of us to think it doesn't matter, it matters. Afterwards, standing together for press photos and celebration, I dared not get too close to her. I knew I had to honor the distance between us, distance that was about much more than the present day. I knew I had a lot of listening to do, and that although the actions that had just happened were good, it didn't solve everything. But like I said earlier about prayers and holding the spiritual practice of holding the pain and the joy, so though I knew there was so much more to be done, I knew I needed to keep a distance, I knew it didn't make everything all better, and I knew the pain she carried, I also knew I saw a woman, a young woman in her late 20s, change because of the power and experience of allies and people who walk their talk and care. I bore witness to anger and skepticism turned into a smile. So it is for her smile and her mother's, who I love dearly, and Stephen's, and all the Native Americans that they know and love, that I stand here today, speaking what I can and listening even more. Amen. I would invite us now to join in our Unison Benediction. The words are printed in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. So after my blessing in a moment, two other things to share. There is a walk at Maudsley Park if people want to join us at noon. And when I'm finished, we're going to hear Mike Dorsey sing a traditional song, Grandmother, Grandfather, We Remember. This is not music as we would understand it. This is a sacred offering to the ancestors and spirits. So we ask that you stay seated and bear witness to the call. My friends, we are complicated and complex and full. We are tired and angry and downtrodden. We are believers and skeptics. We are convinced that we need to go on. We need to go on and do what we can with the life we are given because we are Great Spirit, God, each other's hands. No one else will create justice on earth. So though we may get tired, and though we may wish it wasn't true, or we wish an easy answer was evident, let us never forget the truth that we hold in the moments and days of our lives, the only thing we have, which is ourselves, our actions, our words, and our beliefs. May we use them for healing, for justice, for love, and for good. Amen.
So this is a tradition. Can you hear me? So this is a traditional song that reminds us that we're all connected. That the ground that we stand on is ancient, and all of the relations, that's everything, are connected. So the words in the song are grandmother. No, the great-grandmother. Grandfather. Oh, shit, sorry. So the words are Onuchi, grandmother, Tankashila, all the four directions, and everything. We remember all of the folks, both our ancestors and all the ancestors that are in the ground and in the air that are gone and coming back in the fall, in the spring. So here's the song. If we could stand up, if you can. I'm not exactly sure why they always do that, but everybody stands up when they pray. Unchi tonka shimaya weksu weksu yeo. Weksu means I remember. We remember. Unchi tonka shimaya weksu weksu yeo. Weksu weksu yeo. Weksu weksu yeo. Onchi tonkashimaya weksu weksu yeo. Onchi tonkashimaya weksu weksu yeo. Weksu weksu yeo. Weksu weksu yeo. Onchi tonkashimaya weksu weksu yeo. Weksu weksu yeo. Omakashko yasin. Wopila pilamaya.
Thank you, everyone. Go in peace.